Oh my, it's Kellee White.
Hey, it's James Van Praagh.
What are you up to?
Thinking about changing the world.
Me too. We should do a show together.
What would it be about?
Let me show you.
The James and Kellee Show.
Hi, everybody. I'm James, and it's Kellee White.
It's James Van Praagh.
What do I do?
Change the world right now.
No. We thought about everyone, welcome to our show here, and I don't know, it's been a long time coming. I think probably years in the making. I would think.
I think about 20.
Yeah, and now perfect timing. Everything worked perfectly. Divine order. Thank you. And tell about your show you had earlier, Kellee. Both sides now, of course.
I had Both Sides Now TV with Dr. Shirley. Hi, Cheryl. I know
Hi,
you were
Cheryl.
listening. So we had this show, and all psychologists out there and all therapists out there are working their butts off, and we all know that. And Shirley was working so hard especially during this COVID time, that she said, Kellee, I just can't do the show anymore. So James and I were speaking, and James said, he actually said this.
Show. Yeah.
Oh my God, James actually said this to me. Would you have me? And I go, what? What? Is that a real question? Would I have you as a co-host? Oh, come on, please. So
we have such a good time hanging out. And, I met Kellee many years ago. For those who don't know, I met Kellee 20 years ago, right?
Yeah.
Through a mutual friend. And you had, why don't you tell people your background first, Kellee?
All right.
Interesting background.
Well, I'll tell you how spirit works, actually, because I think this is the most interesting. Oh, there's so many interesting parts of this. Yeah. But in 1997, James wrote a book, Talking to Heaven, right? 1997.
Yep, 1997.
So my girlfriend, Charlene, said she was so excited. She was watching you. You were on Larry King. Everybody remembers Larry King.
Yeah. First medium on Larry King ever.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Well, you were doing these readings, and you said something about there's a man with a zipper, and he just died, and he hit his head, and he did this and this and this, and he's Italian, and he's 74, and his family's around him. I mean, you gave very clear details. And Charlene, my friend, is yelling at the TV going, that's me. That's my dad. My dad's name was Zip, and that's my dad. So she was so excited that the next day you were going to be at the Bodhi Tree bookstore.
In Los Angeles, yeah.
In Los Angeles. Yeah. So Charlene went down and waited 2 hours, met you, got a book for you, had one autographed for me. She brings it to my house. I inhale the book like it's manna from heaven, because every single word in that book rang so true to me.
A lot of people, yeah.
It was, I got chills even when just thinking about it. But who knew that Charlene's father, who had died 20-something 3 years ago, would have come through to get Charlene to do this? And at that moment, I read your book. I swear to God, James, I don't know if I ever said this to you, but I knew I was going to know you.
Oh, now, amazing.
I did not know at the time I was going to be a medium, because at the time I was in the food business. So I had nothing to do with mediumship. So
and Kellee was a CEO. I mean, you were an executive.
I was an executive. It was a big deal. I had a big job there. And what happened is I ended up having a traumatic brain injury. And some of you know. And as a result, I started seeing dead people. So that's what happened. I had a traumatic brain injury. It took me years to recover. And then James, a friend of mine, of my mom's, said, I know James. And we got to meet each other, and it was just incredible. James really.
I met you from Italy. I was doing a cruise.
From Italy, you were on
the water. I was actually on the water flow going, and
he called me, and he said, I'll help you with this. And he said, but I'll be back in a couple of weeks. And you called me the moment you got off that boat, and we started talking. We've never been apart since. I mean, you were just amazing. You helped me through this really unbelievable time and got me to where I needed to be. So it was really extraordinary.
Kellee to go into mediumship, because she was very, very skilled. And Kellee's like, well, I got to finish this license. You got to go into mediumship and put the two together, which is now happening, as you know, Kellee, much more than ever before. We have therapists, psychotherapists, psychologists, and going on in mediumship, studying mediumship and becoming medium, and then mix both two disciplines, which is what we're doing here. But you're also a medium. So, and I was going to be a psychologist. So.
And
It's
you would have
weird.
been a great therapist. I mean,
Yeah,
it's
both mediums
interesting.
are. Mediums are
Yeah.
therapists. And throughout the show here, we'll be doing both of those. The opening was we wanted to give some a fun little quirky thing, but we love things happen spontaneous like that all through life. And we thought, well, the park just happened to meet someone. That oh hi, it's Kellee White, and we just the balloons were just because we were joyful, and we want to show you what the show is about. And Kelly's husband put the jingle together, and my favorite
Don, he was
John,
great.
and then my favorite is the last part of it, the James and Kelly Show. So,
So fun.
we don't know what we're going to do, but so Kelly has how many years as a therapist, a
I've been a
psychotherapist?
therapist for 10 years, a medium for
10 years.
20.
Oh,
Mhm.
oh, really? Okay,
I was a
didn't know that.
medium first, and then later I became a psychotherapist because I just felt the two went together, as we were
So
talking
much
about.
so, so
And when
much so.
people would come in with grief, I felt like I needed to do something more for them to help them. I've always
Yeah.
wanted to be here to help. And,
Yes.
when people are going through such tough times, I just felt I needed some more, I needed more tools in my toolbox.
And Kelly is a Virgo like I am, and Virgo is a sign of healer, of service to humankind. Kelly's also a very good astrologer out to everybody. Like, that I can't get through life without her. What's up in October? I'm here this year right at present because of Kelly, because she told me it's happening. And yeah, we have hits on a lot of things, both of us. We're very similar too, hits regarding forecasts and things like that. But we
Yeah.
thought we'd do a show here with that covers everything from your show, Both Sides Now, because
Mhm.
Shirley was also a psychologist,
Psychologist.
right?
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
these are going to be different types of things, from incest, addiction, to codependency, to life after death, to spirit
Mm.
guides. I mean, everything.
Yeah.
And we'll cover it all. If we don't know something, we'll just say, we don't know. So
Yeah.
it's pretty down to earth with us. And a lot of stuff we give out is we give referrals a lot. And you do, Kelly, and I do, for
Mhm.
traumatic experiences or more spiritual work. So we do give a lot of resources out.
Yes.
Um, so tonight we thought it would be a great topic to start the show with. And one of the most popular questions, I don't know if you're asked this, I'm sure you are, Kelly. What happens when you die?
Oh, yes,
What
I do
happens?
get asked that,
Yes,
but it's a perfect one to start with.
perfect one to start with. What
Yeah.
happens when you die? Kelly, please go first,
Should I
because
start with when we
ladies
die?
first.
Ladies
No,
first.
not
So,
unless you want me to. I always tend to
well,
like you to go first because then I can
you
think. I
do,
know
then
it's
you can think.
terrible.
So that's all right. I'll start with this. So,
Okay.
you know, first of all, let me just start with this. We plan our exit. We plan our exit. Now, we may have several exits to choose from, 3 or 4. Some people just have 1. Some people have 3 or 4. But ultimately, there's a time limit, ultimately. And when that happens, you're never alone. I always want to let everybody know that. You're never alone when you pass over. Even I don't care if it's suicide. I don't care if it's an accident. There's no such thing. That the other side, somebody from the other side, is there to pick us up. And in fact, James, today you were asked if there's any pain when the person, or if the person's still in the body, the
Oh
soul
yes,
is
that's
still in the
right.
body. It was a good question, I thought, today when you did your show Soul Care
Yeah,
today.
Soul Care. I do Soul Care every Monday on Facebook. Yeah,
And
and
I thought it was
yeah, you can tell
uh,
them what I
that
said.
there was, well, you said that there, no, because the soul's already released. The
Yeah,
soul's
it
already
goes in and
released.
out toward the end of
Hmm.
its lifetime. That soul knows, so it'll check it out. It'll check out leaving the body, come back in, especially
Hmm.
when you have like Alzheimer's or a coma state. They go in and out, and my dad did that. My dad was out of his body. He
Mm,
had a pneumonia, and they do just like before you're born. You come into
yes.
the fetus. You go probably at 7 months starts. You go in and out, check things out. You have a
Hmm.
telepathic communication with your mother. You're very telepathically connected to each other, and you check it out. And I've told you, I've had more spirits come through, and they would say, "You know what it's really like before you come back into the body, the baby. You really don't want to. You really don't want to. You get stuck there for like 7 months,
Yeah.
like, oh, I got to go back there, and all your friends are going to say, oh, you got to go back. Yes, it's like a prison term or something. And I think, how can
Yeah.
you change the world? But there's a timing. It doesn't matter if you're cesarean or born naturally. It's the first breath you take. That's the time.
Yes.
You know from
Yes.
astrology.
Yes, absolutely. That's the one that is the most important, actually. And I loved what you said earlier this morning too. I just want you to mention this for a
I don't
moment.
remember, so you'll have to
I'll tell
help.
you about
Okay.
the crown chakra and the babies. You said the
Oh, yeah, yeah,
babies
yeah.
are. I thought
Chakra.
that was fabulous.
Yeah. Oh, yes. I told many years ago. I was told that by my guides. That the last, well, they come in. Everyone leaves through the crown chakra, comes in the crown chakra, top of the head, and leaves through the crown chakra. And so when it's 7, 8 months before it's born, they'll go in and out. After
Hmm.
they're born, they will go in and out too. It's about 10 months, and then they'll
Hmm.
stay.
Yeah.
But the last place that that closes physically is the soft spot in the very top of the head, the crown chakra. That's what that
Crown
is.
chakra, which I
Mhm.
love that. And
Yeah.
so when the soul
Mhm.
passes over, you're greeted, you're met with a loved one, and you're immediately taken to the other side, which
So
is just
why don't we
another dimension.
let's stop there and I'll do my thing
Okay.
because I
Go.
think why we work together anyway. It's a
Yep.
tag team. I'm gonna say the same thing. And I'm gonna say just like Kelly said that there was destiny points and destiny points to me. And sometimes we agree on things, sometimes we might not. So that's fine too because we take of both sides. Um, but there, before we come back to this incarnation, we sit with our guides and our teachers on the other side, and our soul group, which could be family and friends and so forth. And you really plan this lifetime. And the Earth is one school out of many, many schools. But we come here, it's a hard place, but we learn the most here because of all the diversity, the conflict, the baby souls come here who are still learning about,
Yes.
war and negativity or whatever, fear. And then there's the postgraduate souls or light workers for the healing and peace and
Mhm.
compassion. And then there's middle grade souls, which are learning both to figure things out. And we're thrown here with all these different souls on all different levels. So because of that, it creates scenarios, it creates drama, it creates life. And that's how we learn about all different experiences.
Mhm.
Yeah. So, when you pass, when like I agree with Kelly totally that when you go, it's destined. Your time is destined. But I will say you have free will. So if you decide to go out one night and drink, and drive and hit a tree and die, you had the choice to drink or not. See, and I also heard many years ago. This is when I wrote my second book. Um, ATMs were very popular then. Let's say you went to an ATM and someone behind you robbed you and killed you. Okay, just the person behind you wanted to do that, and their free will might have interfered with your destiny. So you are
Mm.
karmically bound together then until that karmic debt is paid. See, interesting
Wow.
one. Isn't that interesting?
Really interesting.
Yes, we always got to watch our thoughts, our actions, because it all
Yes.
means something. We'll get into that further during the show, the series here, because we'll talk a
Yeah.
lot about life review and so forth. So when you leave, remember that, this is interesting because Navajo saying, put it in one of my books. I just read it yesterday again, and it goes something like, when we're born here in the physical, the spirit world is crying, and we're in the physical rejoicing. People here rejoice,
Yeah.
and when we die here, when we leave, people here are crying, and those in spirit are rejoicing, and
Wow.
it's exactly what happens there. And no matter what type of death, as you leave the body, it's leaving the body. It's just it doesn't matter. We leave every night. We go to sleep. We leave the body every night, and we live in the spiritual realms. It's your guides and family and teachers, and that's why we those dreams seem so real because you're on the other side. And in the
Mhm.
morning you come back into the body, and sometimes you wake up and you're exhausted. And why is that? Because you've been working hard on the other side. You've been doing missionary work. You've been setting things up, doing stuff for your future, talking to people. So we do see
Yes.
everything.
Yes.
And then really, as Kelly said, and I've had so many experiences with life after death. In that I've had near-death experiences. I've went to Leslie Flint, who was probably the prominent medium, physical medium of the 20th century. He's now passed. And I sat with Leslie in the early 80s in Hollywood when I was trying to be a sitcom writer, and that failed, and here I am. And but it was during that time that I met him through my teacher Brian Hurst and Leslie Flint. You should look him up online, everybody. He was the last physical medium where the voice actually appears in the air by using a substance called ectoplasm, which is found in everybody, but most mediums have most of that, and some born with more. Leslie, when he was 12 years old, he used to go to the theater, a movie theater in London, and the lights were off, the movie was going, and there were voices in the air, and people saying, "Shush, be quiet! Who is that? Be quiet!" And there were these spirit voices around poor Leslie, 12 years old. So, what happens is they create the spirit doctors and chemists create an artificial larynx, and the spirit will come by, and they explain it like putting a catcher's mask on, and they have to send a vibration into that, and it'll come out sounding exactly like their voice did sound on the earth. And that's pretty remarkable. And he's brought through Queen Victoria, Oscar Wilde, a lot of famous people. So LeslieFlintFoundation.com. Go, you can hear them. And I sat with him, and that was the most incredible experience because I was hoping, like everybody, for a reading. I'm going to say him 3 times, right? And nothing happened the first time. For me, it was all British people coming through. And I thought, is he a ventriloquist? Because I'm such a skeptic. And finally, I'm like, "Okay, not the third one. I'm not going to get anything." And all of a sudden, you hear this big Frenchman. "I want to talk to James. I want to talk to James. James, can you hear me? Can you hear me?" Yes, yes. And I was freaked out. I was like, "Whoa!" I almost peed in the floor. I was so. I mean, you're in a dark room with strangers, and this voice, like Yes, I can hear you. Yes, I can hear you. Oh, James, you're psychic, sensitive. We are going to help you, my friend. This is back in 86. We're going to help you, my friend. There are many here in the spirit world that are interested in you. Oh, my friend, we are happy for you. You're going to change the world, my friend. You will see. You see what we say now, you do not know. But in years to come, you understand. You're going to write a book, my friend, and you're going to travel over water. Oh, we're so excited for you. And I'm like, "Ha." Is my mother there? And I actually have a cassette tape of this still.
Wow.
And my mother came through, and some people know how to use this mechanism, and some don't. It's new, just like spirit communication we do. It's new for them. And she came through with a light, but she says, "Jamie, Jamie," and that was her nickname for me. Jamie, Jamie, I love you, I love you. And the same, it's exactly the same sound that you would hear with the words. And it was just amazing. I can't explain it, but I knew that, and. For anyone who's fearful of death or want to more, check out Leslie Flynn's tapes, please. He's an amazing man. So that really opened me up. And then 40 years of doing readings, and I've had every single type of death you can imagine, every single one. Bring one on to me, and I'll bet I've had it. Um, I really, from very famous celebrities to everyday people to, I mean, you name it. And they always say, and again, I'm going to copy Leslie Flint. This lady said, she goes, it's very natural. No one needs to worry. Oh, why it's so natural here. And there's one lady, I got to say this, Kelly. She was a Scottish woman, and there was Betty Green and Bob Woods, and they were scientists, and they research scientists, and they wanted to research Leslie Flint. So they did. They tape recorded every single session from the mid 40s to the 70s. And they're all readable, right? And one thing, it's so funny because they came through and they talked about how difficult it was working with this medium, and people have to really concentrate. And he had a lovely control named Mickey, and Mickey was a cockney. He looked like that, and he was killed by he was delivering newspapers, and a horse and buggy hit him, killed him. And he said, "I was flat out. I was flat out." But there's a lady came through, a Scottish lady, very down to earth Scottish lady, and she comes on. Her name was Mary. She goes, "Hi, can you hear me?" Yes. "My name is Mary." "Oh, hello, Mary." Here's on the website, but I got to do it. I got it good for you. Can you hear me okay? Yes. Well, and Betty said, Betty goes, how'd you find yourself when you passed over? Mary, how'd you find yourself? She goes, "Oh, it was very weird. It was. It was very weird." She goes, "It's strange. I'm sitting in my lounge chair, and before you know it, I'm not there when I wake up in a bed. I didn't know what happened. It was all very strange. It was like a dream. It was like a dream." And I was like, "What's going on?" I was in a hospital setting. It was like us, not like the hospitals on Earth, but it was a hospital with open ceilings, and there was lovely music playing, but not too loud. Everything seemed perfect, very clean, and very nice. She was a very simple lady. And she goes, "This is very strange." Now, this is in the 50s, I think this happened. "Very strange." And I looked over to the bed next to me, and there's a little lass there, couldn't be more than 7 or 8 years old. And I said, "What happened to you? What are you doing here?" She goes, "I had diphtheria." "Diphtheria?" "Yes, I had diphtheria, and we're dead." And she goes, "We're dead?" "Yes." She goes, "I don't feel dead. I feel perfectly fine." She goes, "No, we're dead." And then she goes, "It was awful, very strange." But then the door opened, and my sister Catherine came in. And Catherine died many years ago, about 20 years ago. I said, "What are you doing here, Kathy? What are you doing? Aren't you dead?" She said, "Well, so are you." And she goes, "Well, it was all very strange." Because if you're dead, then I must be dead. I don't understand." And she said, Just rest, Mary. In a few, a few times, a few moments, or a little time, the rest will come and get you." Because they have to. Sometimes you have to rest after passing because you have to get the prana back. They have to put the prana back in the body. And she goes, I looked down at myself. I had my beautiful dress on, my favorite dress. How did that happen?" And Kate, her name's Kate, sister Kate. Kate says, "Oh, I dressed it for you. I put it with my thoughts. You don't talk here. It's all mental. It's all communication with thoughts. I knew you'd love that." And we have to bring it back to mom's home. So what they also tend to do many times is they in the spirit world will recreate with their thoughts the childhood home of someone. So
Yeah.
when they go back, it reminds them and they feel like they're back home. And that's to help with the transition. See, that's help with the shock of the transition. And they'll do that, and you can have food, and it'll taste exactly like it did on the earth. You can have alcohol, which martini, I can't wait. But it doesn't give you the buzz because there's no alcohol. But your memory brings that back, you see. So it's a memory. It's a world of memories. It's a very mental world made of memories. And then after a while, I'm sorry to take up all this time, but we have to explain this great. So when you're rested, if you need rest, some people pass right over and they're completely conscious. Depends on the type of passing there is. So if something robs the body of the prana, like a disease of some kind, you have to get back. You're over a heart attack, you can go right over there or rest. I did a reading for some guy. I'm sure, Kellee, you've done this before too. It was a demonstration on a Saturday night in my living room, my apartment in Hollywood, about 10 people. And this one man a man came through for him. I said, he loves you very much. His name is Mike. He goes, yes, I know Mike, but he's my partner. I said, Mike, it was when AIDS came around. And I said, Mike was with you because you just put the sidewalk lights on. He goes, yeah, we did that before he died. He died on Thursday. This was Saturday.
Wow.
And another one I did was wild. Was I was doing a demonstration of a big theater, and this girl, when the audience, her mother came through, and I said, "Your mother's here, and her name's I think it was Beth or something." She goes, "Yes," and I give her all this information. She goes, "That can't be my mother. My mother's still alive." And I had to break the news to her now that when she was driving over to the demonstration, her mother passed out of the body. But the spirit world is so incredible. They took such care of that woman, that the one in the audience, that she was fine, and it was an amazing experience. That's what we'll find with this series. It'll be an amazing series, everybody, because it'll change your life. This will change your life. So
Yeah.
that's what happens, and everybody tends to go back to their memorial services. They have one.
Well,
Everybody,
they love it. They love
they
their
love it.
memorials.
They
Mhm.
really do. And remember,
Mhm.
the memorial services are for the living, not for the dead, because they're happy they're out of it. They really are happy they're out of it. Most of the time, they're very happy they're out of it. Not unless they left things behind, which we're going to get to in a second,
Exactly.
right? So they might have some leftover business, unfinished business, which they have to get
Yes.
to, which we're going to talk about in just a sec. But they'll go to the memorial services, and it seems that the women will, if they're in like a funeral home and laid out, people still get laid out, I guess. The women tend to look at the flowers, and they'll see who
Yeah.
sent the flowers, and the men tend to generalize, which I've heard. The men tend to see how many cars are in
Yes.
the cemetery, and how much money was spent on the funeral. And I've had many reviews before. I said, "Why the heck did you spend a lot of money? What a waste of my money!" It was very fun. And burying them too. There's a lot of them just do not like that. Mm-mm-mm. I once had a son come through to his parents and say, "Why I'm not in the ground? Why do you look at that on the ground? Why am I a dandelion? I'm a memory. I'm real." And when you think about it, Kellee, it's just so
Yeah.
bizarre, isn't it?
Oh, it's so bizarre, but that's such a great way to explain what happens,
Yeah.
and we've both had those experiences when we're doing readings for people where, they'll come through with some of the most oddball details to show that they're who they are.
My people have asked me what's my favorite reading, and they've asked you, I'm sure,
Oh,
what's your
yeah.
favorite reading of all time? And you're like, I really don't remember. It's like
Right.
filing. I don't remember what's in the file,
Right.
but I do remember this one. It'll always stick with me. There are two actually, and both of us children. Ah, okay. Um, this happened in Maui Performing Arts Center probably 3 or 4 years ago, and it was 2 hours. I was into it toward the end. Again, yeah, Spirit Heart Works. It was the last reading, but it had to be the last reading because. And then that was okay with the reading. It was a really slow audience, and at one point I said, "Oh, I'm in Maui. Well, Maui Wowie is here, isn't it? Because it seems so slow." But the pace is slow there, so I love Maui. Anyway, at the very end, there was a little girl hopping up and down, a spirit girl, blonde-haired girl. I think she just turned four that day. It was her birthday. Pink dress, um, and she was so cute. And when I talk to my mommy and daddy, I want to put my mommy and daddy. It's my birthday. She said, "This little girl here, it's her birthday." And went to mom and daddy in the back, and this couple raised their hand. Floodgates started. They got they said, "Yes, we lost our daughter," and I don't remember her name, maybe Susie, I don't remember. And they said, "Yes, that's her." It explained everything, how she passed. They sold the bicycle, the wallpaper, the stuffed toys, all that. Yes, yes, yes. And then she said to her father, "Daddy, thank you for the angel tattoos. I love them."
Oh,
The father, who's this big, muscular daddy guy, stands up, takes off his T-shirt. Now he's the very back row.
mm.
Turns around, and the back of his back are two wings, big, big wings, his angel wings. He did that for her birthday.
Oh,
That
oh,
was it. No one could, everyone's crying. That was the end of that.
oh,
That was the
well,
finale, and it saved. I mean, it helped so many people. Even if you
oh,
don't have a
yeah.
reading, like here on the show, even like you don't have to have a reading. I mean, it's good to get a reading and that kind of shit. We know that, but also just being here, listening to others' readings will help you because
Mhm.
one is from many, right, Kellee?
Oh, absolutely. Spirit puts these different stories for us to get so other people will also get the information that they need to help.
True,
So the
true.
spirit is really working here to give us all kinds of information that is good for everybody, frankly.
Everyone,
Yeah.
everyone. I mean, it really is. And then
Yeah.
we should talk about when you first pass over. So this is an important thing for everybody to know about, and we'll talk about this a lot in this show. You have a life review when you get to the other side,
Yep.
also, and you see your life. You look back and you have a life review. You see everything you did in your life, your acts, the thoughts you had, what you said to people, the good, the bad, and the ugly, and you are your own judge. There is no judge that goes, you go there, you go there, you go there. you judge yourself. You see if you passed your tests or not.
Mm.
And I would say the number one over there is regret. What do you think, Kellee?
Oh, yeah, regret is a huge one. Oh, yeah, regret that I didn't live well enough, or I could have made better decisions, or, I shouldn't have done this. I should have done that instead. Yeah,
And
regret's
if I
huge.
only knew, if I only knew then what I know
Mhm.
now, I would have made better choices. I would
Yeah,
have made choices out of love, not fear, because we're
yeah,
not fear, we're love. And a lot of regret for that, I find. And you bring your mindset over there. So I talked about this morning too on soul care. When you pass over, if there's a strong religious belief or no belief, you'll go to that space where
yeah.
there's your people, like attracts like. So if you're a Christian or a Muslim, you'll go to those realms where they're the
Mhm.
same. Here in this earth, we're thrown together. Not over there. We go to the band or the realm that
Mhm.
we have created based on our thoughts, words, and deeds, our mindset.
Yeah.
Uh, I have to say this story. I'm sorry. I feel like
I'm
I'm
glad.
going
Good.
here. I don't get out. Everyone, I don't get out much with COVID. I go, the only time I go out is take the garbage cans out, and maybe shopping. I do, and so this is an interesting one. I got it from my friend Peter, who we're going to have on the show, by the way. Peter's a
Okay.
life teacher, and he was one of my greatest teachers. So he told me this story once, fable. I don't know where he got it's a fable, but it's good. So as a man passes away, he goes to St. Peter at the gate. By the way, there's no, if you want St. Peter, you can have St. Peter, but it's very Catholic. So let's say meets St. Peter at the gate. And St. Peter says, welcome in, please come in. And the man looks around, he looks at a beautiful scenery. Now it's an incredible scene, like beautiful parks and flowers that go on forever and ever. And he goes, oh, this is just gorgeous, majestic. And then they show him, St. Peter brings him down the road there and show them all the beautiful houses like palaces. And the man was very, very wealthy, very wealthy. He says, "Oh, this reminds me of my places. I had 20 different palaces all over the world, and I just hundreds and thousands of people working." Oh, he goes, "Just like mine." So he goes, one of these must be mine." And St. Peter's, "No, we're down this way." So go around. The road is getting smaller and curves, and he notices, man, that it gets darker. It's not lit up, and the houses are getting smaller. And he said to Saint Peter, uh, "We're the wrong way because we just passed those palaces. That's what I'm used to." And God must have made a mistake. And St. Peter turned and goes, God never makes mistakes. So they
Yeah.
go down further down some steps, it gets darker and darker. And finally gets low, like really everything closes in. And they get to a point where you barely see. And the man says, "What are you in the wrong place?" And he goes, "No, we're not. Your place is right there. You see that little square light? Like a box of some kind." He goes, "No way, that can't be mine. I was one of the richest men in the world. I employed all these people. I have to have something better." And St. Peter said, "We can only build with the materials you sent us."
Oh, gosh. You're right. That's so true.
It's so
So true. I
true.
mean, don't you think that the lessons in this life are pretty simple ones? I mean,
Yes,
simple ones like be
yes.
nice, be good,
The
be
golden
kind.
rule. The
Golden
golden rule.
rule. It
It
doesn't have to be that complicated. It's pretty damn simple.
But I think the golden rule is also tied in with if people can live the golden rule, it's hard for some people because they live in the ego and they have to get out of
Yeah,
that ego, that human
yeah,
mind. And a lot
yeah.
of people are fearful, living a life of fear instead of
Mhm.
love. So that fear drives them
Yeah.
instead of love. If love drive them, they would change their lives. They would completely change, not live in fear
Mm,
anymore. And it's
mm.
it's everything is so much in order, folks. Learning is never easy. Learning lessons, it's difficult.
Yeah.
School, it's difficult, but you expand, you learn. That's why we come back here. There are millions of universes. This is just one planet of many. And you've chosen to come here for whatever reason you have
And especially they've chosen to come now during this time
during this
because
COVID time.
this
Yep.
time is a time of great transformation that we're
Yeah,
going to
yeah.
see.
Tell
We've
people
been
about
seeing
that,
it.
Kellee, because you know so much about this.
Well, this period of time that we're in between, well, it started, I think, last June. I think, well, you and I were talking about this in
Yeah,
June of 2019, and I
yeah.
said 2020 is going to be a year like nobody can ever imagine because it's the great transformation. So
You
all the
didn't have words to describe it. You did not have words to describe it in human language. You
in
didn't.
fact, I must have sounded like a friggin' moron. I was screaming, "It's gonna be different. No, you're not gonna believe it." And I didn't know. You're right. I didn't have the words how to
Yeah,
say it.
no.
But I knew that it was going to be a huge transformation. But
Mhm.
all of us wanted to be here for this time period. All of our souls will grow so much faster by being here during this time. And so, this is the time during this COVID space. I mean, how blessed in a way that we are, so we can go in and do the work that we need to work on ourselves. So, when we get to St. Peter's, we're like, oh, no, I'll take the big house.
Yeah, there,
I'll,
right there.
I'll
There's
go
your
there.
palace.
Yeah, there you go. I mean, because
I,
you
I,
want, so
I was shown where I'm going to live, by the way.
You
This came
were?
like 3 months ago. I was in my garden, which I garden every day. I live in my garden, and I heard. I don't know. I think it was a guide actually. I think or a friend, my friend, a passed over lady I know, and she showed me. I just knew this was you're going to stay here. This is someplace you're going to find yourself when you pass over here, and
Oh.
I never thought about that. It reminded me of it was on a mountain. Get this one
Mhm.
on a mountain. Have you been to Sedona, Kelly? You've been to Sedona.
I
Have you been
have.
there?
I love
When you
Sedona.
enter Sedona, to the right, there's St. Mary's Cathedral,
Mhm.
and it's a glass cathedral up in a mountain. And that would look like my house I'm gonna have, my residence when I first get there. They showed me that. I'm like, "Wow, that looks like St. Mary's." And my friend said, "Yes, it does. You've earned it." I said, "Thank you. I
Well, I might
appreciate
take the
that."
one next door.
I think it'll be joining. Hi, what are you doing, Kelly? So we should talk about when people first pass out of the body, and this happened to my dad. He had a pneumonia, and he didn't believe at all in life after death. He used to watch me on
Mm.
my Beyond TV show for a year and watch my TV, and he didn't believe. He thought, oh, he's out in Hollywood making money. He didn't know any better, and
Oh.
didn't believe he was sciences. Didn't believe there was life after death. And
Mm.
I helped him over in his deathbed. I did help him. Because he was out of his body, his head was hanging out, and all of us, the siblings, we all went there. Three of us went there, or for us, and we went there, and we said, "Dad, it's okay to go." And he wouldn't go, didn't go for like hours. And I kept on seeing him up here. I said, "Dad, what's going on?" He goes, "I don't want you kids selling I don't want you kids I want you kids to agree about the house." Now, he was a
Oof.
Cancerian. Everything was his house. He worked his whole life for his
Mm.
house. So we agreed, of course. And I said, "We agreed, Dad." As soon as that, he left 5 minutes later. Okay. The doctor rang, cleaned him up. Do we have to do? And we went back in, and he came right to me. And for 3 days, I did automatic writing. He said, James, you got it right. You got it right. Oh my God, I'm in a nice brown suit your mother gave me. I see your mother. I'm 37 years old, and I have a sister I didn't know I had. She's here." And we found out later on, of course, he did have a sister that we never knew about. And it was joyful for him. And he was so happy. And yeah, people are
Well,
very happy. They don't want to come back.
when my mom passed away, she passed away on a Saturday night at 11:35 p.m. and it was, pretty traumatic. I mean, it was an easy passing for her, but it was awful and to lose your mother. And so then what happened is the next morning you called me and you said, "I was on a plane last night and your mom came to me."
That's right.
And
Uh,
you said she
2B, I
passed.
remember 2B. I
Yeah.
remember it.
And you said, "Tell her I'm not dead."
Oh,
You
she
said,
would stop screaming at me. Would
yeah.
you tell her I'm not dead? I'm not dead. Stop thinking me is dead. I'm not dead. And she was really strong about it. Tell
Mm,
them to stop thinking I'm dead.
yeah.
And she
Yeah.
was your mom was a Leo, right?
Yeah. Triple.
Triple Leo. So that Leo, yes, that energy.
Mhm.
Should tell them stop thinking me is dead. That's not good for me. For them to think I'm dead. I'm
Yeah.
not dead. They should
And
know better. She goes, they should know better.
but I hadn't told you yet she had
No, you
passed
had
because
no.
I was in my own state of like shocker.
Sure.
So
Wow.
yeah, that was wild. We've had some great experiences.
Going back to that life review, yeah, we throughout the series, that life
Yeah.
review. So there'll be things that stick out, and you're like,
Mhm.
I shouldn't have done that. I should have done something better. Why didn't I show more compassion or understanding or peace or whatever it might be? And you also bring over a lot of regrets, the ways you've acted. Now,
Yeah.
um, Kelly had one recently, I think, which is
Yeah.
very fascinating. I never heard this before, and I've done this 40 years. And Kelly called me the other day and said, "You're never gonna believe it, Kelly."
So actually it happened twice this week. So I had two I should say last week that came to me. And when this happens, James, when you're doing this kind of work, if you start getting the same message,
Yeah.
it seems, I don't know, unusual, except that Spirit's wanting to give this message. So here's the message. And I want everybody to hear this with empathy. Okay. I want everybody to have empathy, which is the ability to understand what somebody else has gone through. It's a simple term, but I want everybody to have this when I tell this story. I did a reading. One was a man and one was for a woman. So the first one was a woman. I'm going to say she was in her early 50s. She came to me. I don't know her. She doesn't know me. Her husband came through to me. All of a sudden, her husband tells me she makes peach butter. I'm like, peach butter? What is peach butter? But
Excuse me, Kelly.
okay,
Excuse me. The lady's alive. The husband
lady is
died. Okay.
alive. The
Sorry.
the
Where's that?
husband is gone.
Husband's gone. Okay.
And I said
Peach.
to the sitter or to my client, I said, "Oh, he's telling me he must have had a massive heart attack pretty quickly." And she said, "Yes." And all she's saying is, "Yes, yes." And you're making peach butter. Yes,
Peach
yes.
butter.
Okay, which is an odd thing. And then I said, "He's showing me really fast. You're looking at emails. And she said, "Yes, I was." And then I went, "Oh." And here's what happened, folks. And I really want you to have a lot of empathy for this. The woman was in the kitchen cooking. She hears a large thump, She runs into her husband's office. He has a massive heart attack in his office while on the computer. He dies. She, take 911 is called, and she loses her husband, but the computer was still open.
Oh, jeez.
And he had been having an affair.
Oh.
And that's how she found out. And we're going to
Double
talk
whammy.
about, it's a
Double
it's called
whammy.
complicated grief.
Ah.
So when we talk about the other side, but here's the other thing that happened in the same week. I had a man who's alive. His wife came through to me. He was in his early 60s. She was probably late 40s. She had been shopping in a shopping mall, or outside, I should say, in a parking lot fairly recently. And she tripped while on the phone texting. She tripped over something, fell and had a head injury and died pretty
Oh,
suddenly.
wow.
So the reason I mention this is the husband who's alive, who comes to see me, he's worried out of his mind that she was texting him when she tripped. So he couldn't sleep. So he went on to see what the texts were. And it turned out she was having an affair. She wasn't texting him. She was texting a boyfriend. So the reason I say this, now let's talk about this. This is betrayal. How important this one is when you're doing a life review. I mean, listen, folks, this is really about, the reason James and I had talked about doing this show is we want to raise your consciousness. Really, this is what we're here about, know thyself. And, we all, as you were saying, we're all in different schools. We're in this school, but we're in different ages, if you will, and different stages. And you really want to start making some good, sound choices here, because if you can imagine what it's like to be left with grief. Okay, so grief is one thing, but then you add complicated grief of anger and grief, and you're on the other side. It's easier, is what I'm saying, is if you're going to go through any of this, it's easier when you are in the physical, right, James? You're in the physical.
It's very easy, much easier, because we're in a physical vibration, and you're able to say, I'm sorry, or do something about it. Just like addictions, by the way, addictions too, because people worry about addictions and overdoses. Right. If you can handle your addiction here in the physical, and that's why we come, part of the reason we come down here, because it's an addiction place here, whether it's love or alcohol or whatever it might be.
Right.
And if you can handle that here, it's great. You do not want to carry any of that to the mental world. So the spirit world is a mental world where thoughts are realized, because you'll still have that memory of that addiction so strong, and or that emotional block, that thing you did to someone. You got to take care of your business while you're here. I wrote a book many years ago called Unfinished Business, because I got really sick and tired of hearing so many spirits every time saying, if only I knew then what I know now, I would have made better choices.
And that's my whole point. If you're breathing here, let's make better choices. Let's make some really good choices. I really want people to start having a consciousness of their behavior, because your behavior will come through on the other side. When your loved one comes to somebody like me or James or any other medium out there, let me tell you, they are panicked. They want forgiveness. They're so sorry. It's a little difficult when you're alive and you're hearing this from a medium. It's a little difficult because you want to strangle the person. And yet you can't. So it's really interesting.
It's an interesting one. And there's so many complicated grief. Like I get, and again, I have to say, so this morning, the same example was, this happens a lot. A couple came to see me in the audience, and their son had passed, and he died at 25 for a hit and run by a drunk driver. And the drunk driver lived, and the boy died. So of course the parents are really angry, and the reading, they were very angry. And he came through and said, Mom, I've forgiven him. I've forgiven him, but you need to forgive him to set him free. And then he went on about, in another lifetime, I killed him. So who knows what's going on here? So
you're right.
And then he said something so great and so profound that I got to share this. He said, Mom, Dad, I lived 24 years, some great years. I died when I was 25. Why can't you celebrate the 24 and a half years instead of the day I died? I'm more than the day I died. And everyone in the audience went, wow, that's really true. And they in the spirit world want you to think of them in the happy times, not the sad and grieving times. They're not, you got to see them again. They're in a different country, but you can hear them. If you still your mind, you too can hear. And during the series, we'll teach you, we'll show you how to do that. And, they're not interested in, they're really, the life review is really intense, because you seem to, and I use this example all the time. Let's say you're in a very bad mood and you went to get gasoline, and you had to go in. You yelled at the cashier or something. I don't do that anymore because I learned this one. And it changes the energy of that cashier person in a negative energy, and that negative energy stays with that person. And maybe they yell at their coworker, who then gets
Right.
upset, and then the coworker goes home to his family and yells at his family. And one of the kids calls a friend, he yells. It's called the rippling effect. And you see, and you see, feel, and hear it from the original experience on Earth. You'll see it, feel, and hear it 10, 20 times, 30 times stronger than originally was sent. And
Yeah.
that's how you affected the world, the rippling effect. And I
Mm,
know this from near death experience. Let me tell you, I can tell you later, another show, we'll do near death experience show, but it really
yeah.
matters that you do things the right way and the
Mm,
loving way,
yes.
and
Yeah.
not in the ego way. Do what, treat others as you want to be treated. That's how we'll change the world.
Right.
You
Right.
know?
Make good choices out there.
And I
Mm,
say, Kelly, all the time, I say, you know what? If you live your life, and when you leave this earth, if you
mm,
made it better than when you found it, you
yeah.
succeeded.
Yes. Yes, exactly.
You know?
And your guides are so happy.
Your guys are so happy,
They're
and
so happy.
this is an interesting one too. People think I got to serve. People say to me all the time, "I want to be a medium. I want to serve. I want to serve humankind."
Mm,
See, there are many ways to serve humankind. You don't have to be a medium. You can go into healthcare. You can massage. You can
mm,
go to the gym and work to be a trainer. You can be,
mm,
all different ways to serve people. Don't just do mediumship. And it's really really important that people realize that just do the best you can with what you have. And it's very important in order to succeed in life that you have a sense of foundation of who you are, and that you really know yourself well, and don't rely on other people to tell you who you are. And you have to reprogram again. We'll do a whole show on this too. But when you come down here, baby comes
yeah.
down, the soul comes down. You're free. You know things from the side. That's who you are. But
Mhm.
probably around the age of 6, 7, 8, in school, we get programmed. We get programmed,
Yeah.
mind control, and we have to do things what other people want, like our parents and teachers and so forth.
Mhm.
And all we're looking for is approval and love. So we'll do what they want because we want love, and we think they'll be loved. And we get into that pattern, and probably I'd say around mid-30s, people are not happy, and they wonder why am I not happy? Why am I not fulfilled?
Yeah.
Well, if you look back, you lived someone else's life, not your life. And the moment you
Right.
choose to use your life, you'll be happier. What do you think from therapy wise, Kelly, on
Oh,
that?
that's exactly what happens.
Yeah,
You start to about 30s, you start
yeah,
to look at why is your life going this way? Why am I picking this one over and over? How did I find myself in this bad relationship? Or what happened to me? And you start thinking about that. And a great place to start, frankly, is to go into therapy to start asking,
yeah.
who are you? Because in your 30s and 40s and 50s, you need to know thyself. You need to start trusting yourself. You need to start opening up to who you are, and then you get to a point of why did you incarnate? Why am I here? It's a real interesting, and life can be very long. I mean, it's a real interesting time. And ultimately, the goal is to get wisdom. Ultimately, is to grow your soul. Ultimately, it's for to make good choices, and you're positive and you have a positive attitude. These are all the reasons why we come in here.
And serving people,
Yeah.
before, exactly like this, you can just be, many people can just be in a space, and you
Yeah.
can help somebody without even saying anything. It's your energy that can help heal them. I'm sure a
Yeah.
lot of you run into people say, "Oh, wow, the great energy they have, or their spirit's so great." They
Yes.
didn't say a word. So you can serve humanity that way as well. There's
Mhm.
many different ways of serving.
Yeah.
So that's very important. I find that, and there'll be gemstones we're going to throw all through the series. I find that every day, and maybe because I get older, you get wiser, I
Yeah.
think, that I treat every day as a brand new day, like I just came here to this earth. How can I change today? What can I change someone's life in a positive way? And now, because COVID, my plants love me, my trees love me, the flowers love me, the
And
rocks love
Maisie, your
me.
dog, loves you.
Maisie, my baby girl, is here, I think, somewhere. She's sleeping.
Mhm.
She loves me. I know it's really kind of sick. We have a love affair, the dog and myself. But she's the kindest, sweetest, sweetest. She rescued me, actually. She rescued me when I don't give it. I saw a puppy run over. I saw it 2 seconds before it was going to happen. And it happened. And I got in my car, bent down. The poor puppy was like dying, which I'd never seen. I thought I can go out of my body and
Ah,
turn time back. That's what I thought.
yeah.
And then probably a few seconds later, I thought,
So
I better get
traumatic.
out of here, because if they kill the dog, they're going to kill me. So I got up and moved my car and parked and came back. And there was a police lady holding the dog with a blanket. And the little girl, 7-year-old girl whose dog it was, I was so angry because the mother let the girl come downtown with no leash on the dog. And I was angry. And
Ah,
that's a traumatic experience for that
totally
girl.
trauma. Total.
So I was upset for 2 weeks. I couldn't sleep, and, and,
Mm.
and I finally had a dream. And my guide said, "You need to go to the pound to get a dog. We have one waiting for you." So I said to Brian, my partner at the time, I said, "We got to go down to the pound. There's a dog waiting for me." Okay. We went down there and looked through all the kennels. Didn't see any dog spoke me. None. Went back to the lobby. I yelled at Spirit, which I've done several times. I said, "You told me to come down here. Why did you come down here? I'm upset." And my head turned, and looked at the very, very last kettle, and this little white face looked over at me, and I said, "What?" And I went out, and it all the way down, and I got to the kennel, and I'll cry. She rolled in her back and paws up just like the puppy that died, the same position.
Ah.
And I took her, and we had an incredible time. And I brought her home, and I didn't know what to name her. And it was my turn to name a dog. And I was in my office there in Laguna, and I'm ready to book a thing. All of a sudden, this lady comes in the middle of a spirit lady who I've never seen. It was my great aunt, and I saw her objectively, which is rare. And she was like a gray long dress with buttons, very 1930s. Her name is Maisie May. I said, Maisie May? Who's ever heard of Maisie May? She goes, that's her name, and she left. Now Maisie was out in a deck, and I just screamed, said, Maisie May. She comes running in, hops on my lap, and gives me a kiss. That was the beginning of our relationship. I've had her for 11 years.
My God. And my first dog was Livy May. My second one was Maggie May. And my third one is Charlotte May.
Can't write this. Should we take some calls, honey?
Let's take some calls.
How long is the
Absolutely.
show for? Is it an hour? Or?
Hour? Yeah, we've got a few more minutes. Let's take some calls.
We have Renee, our
Okay.
producer. Hi, Renee.
Hello, everyone. I'm so glad to be here. Yes, we have a few callers, so I'm going to bring. Let me see. We have Kathy here, and she calls about. Her question is about energy.
Oh, great question.
We should do a whole show on that one day.
We really should. Yeah.
So, Kathy, you're live. Go ahead and ask your question.
Hi, James. Hi, Kelly.
Hi,
James,
Kathy.
it's me
Kathy.
from Long Island.
I know Kathy from Long Island. You've talked to her before, Kelly. She's been on your show, my show. Yeah.
Probably.
Yes.
How have you been, Kathy?
I love you both.
I love you.
I
Really
want
good to
to
hear your
thank you very
voice.
much, James.
Oh,
I am a psychic medium. Thank you, James.
you're welcome.
You told me that
10
told me
years
that
ago.
10 years ago.
Yeah. Wow. Good girl.
I do have a question. What? I'm sorry.
I said good girl.
Thank you, James. I do have a question. Besides the energy, astro travel.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I apparently astro travel a lot, and
Yes.
I was speaking with Padre Pio,
How were you?
and
That's
he had
interesting.
told me.
Yep. Did we lose Kathy?
She was talking to who? Patrick Peo?
Padre Pio.
Oh, Padre Pio. Okay, the saint.
Now we'll
Oh.
she'll call back. But so Padre Pio was a saint, and he would do amazing healer, and he would do it, and he would have stigmata a lot, and
Oh, wow.
mad things would happen. People would pray to him, and manifestation happened within like a year. And he was one of the last saints that the Pope John Paul first canonized, and it was pretty amazing. I was also going to be joining his organization just to send benefits, but yeah, Padre Pio, magic happened with Padre Pio. So we'll wait for that to call back. Renee, we can take another call until she calls back, if that's okay. Renee, can you hear us?
Renee?
I think
There he is.
Oh, there he is.
Hello.
Oh, you're back. Oh, okay. Did you? Okay, good.
Hi.
So, hi. So we got the Padre Pio, and
Okay,
what did he
so I
say?
was Padre Pio, and he said to me, I can debunk some of the soul agreements I made when I astro traveled. Apparently, I agreed to take on other people's pain.
Great. Yes. Does that make sense to you, Kathy?
Yes, it does.
Yeah.
Because I've had a lot of, as
I
you
know you have. You've had a hard one. I know you have.
Yes.
So continue.
Yeah. So now I go to sleep every night and I ask Padre Pio to please, I want to debunk the soul agreement I made when I astro traveled. But here's the thing. I do not know if I'm going back there to where I made the agreement and it is being debunked. That's where I'm a little confused.
Okay. Well, I'm confused.
That
makes three of us.
makes three of us.
Couple of things, and
Okay.
Okay. So there's a Monroe Institute. Have you heard of the Monroe Institute? That's in Virginia Beach,
No.
Kathy. Okay, you need to get in touch with the
Okay.
Monroe Institute, okay? Because it was written by created by Monroe. Her first name, he just passed.
Robert or
Monroe.
Bob Monroe.
Bob Monroe, and he really teaches about how to leave the body, out of body experiences. And it was the best. He's written several books. He was the best person on this earth at the time to create such a program, and the only one. And he does it with hemisync, matching different lobes of the brain and balancing it. And there's ways you learn to leave the body and what to do when you're outside the body. So I would get that under your belt. But the next training, I would say you need, and then do it from there. I know that. Listen, I don't know. I don't know, honey. I don't know because I've had the experience you have, but I've never heard this before. I just would think that your higher self knows better. And it sounds like your human self is making that happen. But the higher self would tell you really why. Why. So I want to know from Padre Pio, maybe you can write this down when you talk next. Why did you want to change? Why can't you just have those experiences and gain things from those experiences with things and use boundary work, of course, not allowing other people in your space, doing it another way instead of debunking your, I don't like the word debunk, but breaking your soul contract, I'd say.
Well, I was very curious about this.
Yeah,
yes, I was very curious about that.
I've never heard of that, breaking a soul contract. Yeah. I have heard, Kelly, my first, that the spirit can leave the body before their expiration date if they choose.
Yeah, I've heard that, but I haven't heard changing the agreement.
Actually, Michelle Livingston, I did a call with Michelle Livingston, and she said the same exact thing.
Really? Interesting. She's a very good medium. Yeah.
Yes, and then I have a picture in my bedroom hanging, James, of the soul of Padre Pio at the gate.
Pio, say Pio.
Pio, Padre Pio. Yeah. It's the most gorgeous picture. But she said, "You're right," and he did.
Can I ask you a question? Did you belong to his organization? Yeah. You belong to the Padre Pio organization?
No.
Oh, hello. That's the next thing you have to do. He has a big organization around the world, and because a lot of people were, helped by him. He was a manifestation saint, and things would happen like that in health, and many things would materialize from him. Stigmata was frequent with him. I would, Kathy.
Right.
It's up to you, but I would get so involved with learning more about him and his organization, and then go to Monroe Institute and practice. I don't know, sweetheart. It just sounds to me like I don't know. I don't know. I'd keep a journal too. Keep a journal.
I'm confused. That's what I wanted to know from you. I said, if anybody's going to know, you're going to know.
Well, you'd think, right? But no, I never had this one. It's a very interesting, and of course, leaving it to you to have the most difficult question I've ever had, and here you are, and I've known you for over 10 years.
Sorry.
No, I was not sorry.
I knew that you would know.
Well, I do know that I do know that I want you to research for me. Would you mind? And see what you find out.
No, I will.
Your opinion might change, by the way. The opinion might change. Just be open to that, right? It might change. Something might variation or something. But
that's fine.
Keep me posted. And let me ask you, how long have you been developing as a medium?
Sure. I'm sorry. Say that again.
How long have you been in development as a medium? 5 years? 6 years?
No. Well, I now go back and realize I had this gift since I was 5.
Yes.
So I'm saying since the last talk to you, James, was about a little over 10 years ago.
It was over 10 years ago? Last time I talked to you? No, really?
Yeah.
Oh. And you
did a show with Lynn Prophet.
Lynn Probert.
It was, it was way back when. And I did what you told me. I did everything that you told me to do.
Okay. Just if you can find a development circle there, and Long Island, they have plenty of them. I would like you to continue sitting in the development circle because that'll help keep charging the battery and do the right thing and learn how to run your energy. I want you to keep on doing that too. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah,
I work with Lisa Williams right now.
Okay, that's good. Work with Tony Stockwell. If Tony Stockwell comes to New York, please, or go online. Tony Stockwell is a great mentor, one of the best in the world.
Okay.
And I work with Tony, and he's fantastic. So tell him you're a friend of mine, and he'll help you. He does also trance mediumship, which I think you'd be good at. Trance mediumship is what I think you'd be good at.
James, I want your honest opinion, and Kellee, yours too.
Kellee, she has
called your show. That?
Yes, definitely. Yeah, call us back and let us know what you find out, would you please?
All right. Thanks so much for calling, Kathy.
Thank you. Okay, I love you too.
Bye.
Love you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Love Kathy. Kathy's a regular. Kathy's great. Okay, Renee, we'll take another call while we have time.
Okay.
Interesting call.
So here's Kim, and she has a question for Kellee.
Okay.
Kim A. How are you? Hey, Kellee and James. It's Kim Ann. How are you?
Hi, Kim. How are
Hi.
you?
I'm good.
How can we help
and,
you?
And James, I want to tell you real quick. I had a reading with Caroline Mumolo. Thank you. She was great, fantastic.
Oh, honey, thank you. Carolyn Mumolo is my old neighbor in Queens. She does great card readings, everybody. Carolyn Mumolo. And I'll put her on my website. Her number will be on there. She's great. Isn't she nice?
She,
good reader.
she refers to you as Jamie.
Yeah, Jamie. I knew her as a baby, as a kid. I was almost born in a car, by the way. Isn't that interesting? In 58. Yeah. But that's all. And we still keep in touch. She's a great natural ability of cards. Play deck cards. Yeah.
Yeah, she was amazing. But Kellee, I wondered, I know that you have mentioned more than once about having this brain injury. And, you know, so many mediums, and I know I've heard James talk about having, as a kid, having abilities, and so many people talk about having abilities early on. So it's really interesting to me that you did not have those until you had the brain injury. So I'm wondering what you think happened neurologically, and do you think that everybody has that ability and that a switch has not been flipped, or what do you think happened?
Here's what happened. I was always a psychic kid, and I was actually seeing things when I was young, and my mother always thought and knew that I was, we'll say, different. But because, you know, through not wanting to experience that, I just went through my normal life, whatever my normal life was. But I always felt things. But what happened is when I hit my head, it opened my pineal gland, and I slammed it open. And when I had a frontal lobe injury, and the pineal gland went psht. And also, I really truly believe, and James, I think you and I've discussed this many times, there's no way that I wouldn't, on the other side, I had planned for this. There's no way I didn't plan for this. Exactly. I had planned that I must have worked in many lifetimes to do this work, that I could take a head injury on and turn it into this, because only 3% of the population survived the head injury that I had.
And that you'd have a stroke and anything else.
Wow.
Didn't have a stroke. I was able to, you know, I had to learn a lot of things again. And I had to, I mean, it was pretty traumatic. I wouldn't, if God said, you know, Kellee, I need you to do this again, I'd be like, no, I can't do this one again. But I hope that answers your question.
I think also, sweetheart, I think that a lot of it is that we all have that underlying ability, if you will. Most everyone is psychic. Mediumship a little bit different, right? So everyone is born with the ability to play the piano, but not everybody is a concert pianist. See, so it's a little bit different there with the mediumship. Everyone's psychic, and I think in this type of a thing, like Peter Hurkos was a very famous Dutch psychic, excellent psychic, and he would hold these objects and tell you everything that happened to that person. He fell off a ladder, and he was a house painter. He fell off a ladder and hit his head, and that's what happened. And then, so I think it must be some part in the brain too, Kellee. When this is interesting, I was 6 years old. I went to the movie Saturday matinee, and I was coming around, and you'd remind me, honey, is when you just called that kids were playing tag or whatever, and I hit the theater wall right in the corner of it, and my whole back of my head had to be stitched up, and I was a young kid.
Well, that had to have, because weren't you about 6 when you started seeing angels?
Yeah.
Okay, there's a part of the brain that opens up.
Yeah.
Now, please don't go out there and hit your heads, everybody. Please don't do that.
Oh, no.
But if you have had a head injury, I want anybody who has, I think they should start paying attention to, did their behavior change? For instance, did you start raging? Did you get angry out of control? Did you start seeing things? All kinds of things can happen with a head injury.
Wow, smart.
Wow, that's amazing. That's really amazing.
Hey, you be good to yourself, okay? You be good to yourself. Don't overdo things, you girl. Don't overdo things, and don't be so critical of yourself, okay? Yeah.
Are you talking about me?
I'm talking to you. Yeah, I'm talking to you. Don't be so hard on yourself.
Oh, okay.
Don't be so hard on yourself. We're here to have fun, and breathe. Just breathe, baby. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Yes, I will do that for sure.
Okay.
I've been, ever since you started Soul Care, I've been trying to do meditation every day. I probably get about 6 out of 7 days a week in. I'm
proud of you. Really, really proud. Really proud. Yeah. Continue the good work. Good to hear you. Thank you.
And James, I have to tell you, I would watch you every once in a while on CNN, 20, 25 years ago. I sure as hell didn't occur to me I'd ever have a conversation with you.
It's the best, isn't it?
Very nice.
Thank you. I usually now I have
Well,
kids come up. I usually have kids come up to me and say, "Oh, Mr. Praagh talking to heaven. My grandmother bought me that book." Thank you. Yeah, so. But thank you, sweetheart. It's great. I'm glad it helps.
Well, it's proof that God has a sense of humor for sure.
Yeah.
Totally, right? And it's a woman, if you want to say.
Yes. Yes. Well, thank
Thanks,
you to both
sweetheart.
of you.
Thank you.
Okay. Good night.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
So, what would you like to do? You take another call?
I think
Or
maybe one call. Maybe
yeah,
We'll take one call.
Kelly's a
Okay.
professional here.
We'll do one more. How's
one
that?
more because we've been a lot, right? And we're
Yeah.
just like you worked all day.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
Okay. Well,
I have two in the garden. I'm really.
You already did a show.
And I did a show. That's right.
well, here's
One more.
Gina. Here's Gina, and
Gina.
she has a question about her love life.
Oh boy.
Hi,
don't we all?
James. Hi, Kelly.
Hi, Gina.
So
Hi.
good to talk to you.
Where are
I
you calling
was trying
from,
to get in
Gina?
on Friday night to your
Oh.
psychic reading course. I was in there, but there were 300 people, and so I couldn't get through. But now I get to talk to you guys tonight. I'm
So
in San
sweet.
Diego, California, Escondido.
Studio. Oh,
Perfect.
I'm in Encinitas.
Perfect.
We're
Gina, what's
neighbors.
your birthday?
Yeah, I know. You're my neighbor.
When's your
June
birthday, Gina?
28th, 1987. And the last 5 years, I've gone through this whole transformation, just like what you guys were talking about. So I had like a lot of, like spiritual awakening. I had some anxiety that I had to work through. And I feel like I've totally transformed. And this year, especially, I feel like I'm like blooming into who I am. And so I really think, a soulmate connection is coming. I'm actually getting a little emotional just talking about it. So,
Gina,
but
I didn't get
do,
your birth date.
just kind of want some guidance.
What was your birth date exactly?
June 28th, 19.
June 28th,
Okay.
1987.
Okay.
Baby.
Yes, you did come in to have a soulmate, and your birthday this year, interesting enough, was between those two eclipses, between June 14th and July 5th. Expect huge transformation. Expect the soulmate. It'll all happen. It'll all happen. What a big year for you, and a big year in 2021, and a big year in 2022. Keep going, girl.
Do you want to get married one day? Do you have a partner? You have a formal wedding?
She's gonna have.
Married?
Yeah, you're gonna get
You gotta
married.
have married.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say something to you, Gina, which popped into my head, and this stuff just pops in. I don't pay attention anymore. Now I'm 68 or whatever, and they drop stuff in my head, and they just told me. I just heard from a guy. And I've heard this before. It's so interesting when people say, "Why can't I have this job?" or "Why can't I have this relationship?" or "I need this," and the answer is the spirit world is working on it. They're creating it. They're molding it. They're developing it for you to have it. So you don't want to rush it. You don't want it half baked. You want it fully baked for yourself. So it's worth the wait. You see, it's worth the wait for them to get it just perfect. And we have the realization that the universe is perfect, and for the universe conspires for our highest good. Always. So you will meet that person, but they want to make sure you be patient, learning patience, right? And really enjoy this time that you're blossoming, because it's fabulous. You're a teacher, you are a healer, and you're a teacher. And you just got to be careful with your words every once in a while, please. But Gina, I think you're finding out you have a great heart, and you're so nurturing. That Cancerian is so nurturing. And I got to say to you, other people won't get you sometimes, sweetheart. So let go of that one, because they won't get you. You've already known that, right?
Yes, I do.
We're different. We're different.
My family, some of my family.
Yeah. Well, we pick them. We pick them. We're teaching them. We're teaching them. But you can't force things down their throat because they don't want to hear it. So just be who you are, sweetheart. Never be less than who you are. Okay. And invite us to the wedding.
Great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank
Thanks,
you,
Gina.
Okay. Yes. Thank you so much
God bless.
for supporting me and always doing these shows. I love listening to you guys.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you, Gina.
It's so
Bye-bye.
fun to do these shows, isn't it?
Yes, it's our first of many.
Yay! Yeah. And if you guys
Kelly?
have any topics or anything, let us know. I mean, we're gonna, talk about everything
We'll
basically.
be on the Facebook page. We'll put it on Kelly's Facebook page. The show has a Facebook page, and I have a school online. People that don't know that, JVP School of Mystical Arts, and a website, Praagh.com. And Kelly is kellywhite.org, is it?
.com, and I also have Bad Dads coming up for all of you when Father didn't know best, and that's December 5th with Dr. Shirley.
And I'll do a meditation like I did last time.
And you're going to do a meditation for anybody who's had trouble. It'll help you move on and so you can have your life. Here it goes. When fathers didn't know best. Bad Dads. I love that.
It's hysterical. Fathers didn't know best.
Hysterical.
You got to do bad kids next.
We're going to do bad siblings. We could do bad children.
You got to have bad children there.
Oh God,
Bad partners,
bad partners. Oh my God, this whole
World's
series
oyster.
could go on. Yeah.
That's great.
And James and I also talk a lot about star seeds. So we've got a lot of things to talk about.
We did a show, so we did one night on starseeds. It's in my school. But Kelly's going to do a whole thing on a show on starseeds for a program or a class, because Kelly's very knowledgeable. She's very humble. She's very wise, and she knows a lot about. She can recognize a starseed like that, and she knows a lot. Yeah. And she's writing a book. She just finished her book, right?
I do, and it's being edited. I'm so grateful. Thank you, and I can't wait to get that book out.
Did we get the title yet? Because we worked on the title. What was the title?
We've got 3 in the. We have 3. You and I remember the very
first one you said knock something or other.
Yeah, it was a blonde from LA with a hole in her head, so we changed that. But anyway, we.
And that's Kellee White, if you don't know her.
Yeah, that's right. Well, this was so great. Renee, thank you so much.
Renee, thank you very much, Renee. Appreciate it.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
And I want to apologize to all the people who didn't have an opportunity to come into the show this time. But the good news is that the 2 of you will be back on a regular basis. Right. So please call again.
Yes.
It's true.
Yes.
And Kelly, you have a show on Thursdays?
Oh, I have a show on Thursday. Spiritual medium Kellee White. Ask me anything.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, ask me anything. So that'll be fun. And I want to give a shout out to Bill Cinque, who's our announcer on our extra when we leave. Is that what it's called when you leave? The opening act and the closing act.
The closing credits.
The closing credits. So thank you, Bill.
And Ryan Brown with the animation. Incredible.
Ryan, you did a great job. And great Don, job. What a fabulous.
Kelly's husband did the jingle.
And thank you, everybody, for supporting us.
Show. And please tell people about it. Please. If they can help people, great.
Oh, and David Vigiano. We want to give a shout out to David
Vigiano,
Thank
the best
you,
publicist
David.
in the world from Chicago. Thank you, David. We love you.
So much. Yeah.
Okay. Kelly, I'll see you around the universe.
All right, honey. I love you.
Thank you. Love you too. Bye.
You've been listening to Both Sides Now and Beyond, featuring spiritual medium and master teacher James Van Praagh and spiritual medium and psychotherapist Kellee White.
The James and Kellee Show.